Not able to hear you, sir.
Welcome all of you who have joined and will be joining us. It's almost the time, almost in a couple of minutes. So I think we are waiting for a few more of our friends, family members, so to speak, to join us for this exciting session that we have with our dear friend Lois Drake from Los Angeles. I think it's going to be a very exciting evening. Talk about the Odyssey of your soul, which is our voyage to our self-discovery. So it's part one today, of course. Yeah, so we'll know about the part two and part three after we are done with this part. So I think with that, welcome, Lois. All yours, my dear.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. This is awesome. As we are getting started and people are coming on, let's review for a moment how this book study was started. We were attending and all participating in the workshop in Mumbai regarding the ruby ray. And part of our discussions had to do with resolving the negative aspects of our own personalities or our way of being in the world. So those negative aspects, those parts of our psychology that are wounded, that need to be corrected, that need to be healed, we call that the dweller on the threshold, because it's a part of us that we're not really aware of. And it lives beneath the conscious level until we bring it to the conscious so we can improve and change ourselves. So we determined at that workshop that we all really wanted to get to work on the dweller on the threshold, and we wanted to be the best that we could be. So we decided that as a follow-up to the workshop, we would invite anyone to attend the follow-up, but we would also focus on a book that can help us realize who we really are. And that book, as you know, is The Odyssey of Your Soul. And it is a voyage of self-discovery. So we've made a requirement or a test for this book study for everybody to get that book. It's available on Kindle, so you can download it and you can read it on your computers. And to please, if you have not done that yet, please do that for the next class. And I think that Jaspal has also sent to people an excerpt of the portion that we're talking about today, which is the introduction and chapter 1. Also, this session today is not a lecture. It's a book study, and I would like everybody to participate and share your thoughts. With that in mind, if you could please, for most of our hour that we have together, open your cameras so that we can see you, just as if we were sitting in a room together. Unless, if you're not ready, or I understand. And if you're going to be walking around and doing other things, then please close your camera. But it's very nice to be able to see you. And also be prepared to read, because I'm going to be sharing my screen, and I'm hoping I won't be asking you to read large passages, but we have something in the beginning that I would like to have several people read the part that we have in the beginning. So are there any questions or any comments to begin our work today? Azealia, how are you doing? Say hello to everyone, please. You are certainly part of the team that got this started.
Good evening, Lois. Good evening, Jaspalji. Good evening, everyone who's here. I am excited and delighted to be on this journey. Yeah, excited most of all that what is going to show up, and how much can I go deeper with my soul on this journey. Yeah, so glad that so many have showed up. There are quite a few who couldn't show up because of different commitments, but whoever has, thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. And it's good to see so many names and people that we all know. So Poonam, would you please take off your mute and say hello? And I may want you to read something too. So
Hello, how are you
Hi.
guys?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good.
Great. It's nice to be back together again. And Raj Kumari, how are you doing? Say hello to everyone, please. If you're speaking, there you go. Go ahead. We're not able to hear you yet, even though it shows that you're not on mute. We're not hearing you.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah,
Good.
hi. Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing well. So Raj Kumari, why did you
Yeah.
join us today? What would you like to get from this hour?
Oh, I really am looking forward to learning more about the 12 o'clock, that entire circle. I want to know more. I read about it, and sir had also taken a class before that, but I think I need more clarity, more deep insight into it. And I did read the first chapter of the 12 o'clock line, and
Yeah,
I really want to know more. Maybe it will
excellent.
help me. So I keep doing that circle thing. No, I had to see what are the challenges for me this month, or challenges for my people. I keep telling them that these are the things that await you, and you must be careful. So, but I really I feel that I have little knowledge on that. It's I need to know more to be able to answer the queries of my people.
Thank you. We all need to know more, that's for sure, because it's like the onion. You get to understand one part of yourself, and that's a part that you can let go of because we've conquered that bad habit or whatever it happens to be. But then that's just one skin of the onion. Then next comes the next part, and it goes deeper and deeper, and till finally we can really be in touch with the core of ourselves and the reality of ourselves, which is the mighty I am presence, the God self that lives
Yeah.
within us.
Yeah. And there are certain, I see in my life certain repeating patterns. I
Yeah.
really want to know about that. I try to like, I'm sometimes, I talk to Sir, Jaspal sir a lot about that why I am getting those certain things repeatedly, even though I am trying to take care of whatever he tells me, or whatever I feel was I was lacking in my behavior, or uh, whatever. I try to do but those things keep coming back to me. So maybe there's more that I should be doing, and I should be learning, so that I can improve upon myself.
Excellent. Thank you. That's a very good observation that we see recurring patterns in things that happen in our lives or in our behavior. And that is definitely a wonderful clue to the parts of ourselves that we can work on. You know, and the other clue is what annoys us in other people.
Yeah, that is also
Yeah, that
is
one
also.
makes me laugh.
Yeah, no, I have to repeatedly correct myself, check myself, that I don't have to worry about why should I be getting angry with a person behaving in a certain way, that because I know it is reflecting a part of me. So I keep checking that, but often it's like that feeling comes, and then I check it, and it will go. I'll try to like make myself understand, but then I don't want it to come also.
Yes, yes. We want to be living in love, and we want to be above those aspects of our behavior and other people's behavior. And we're on that path. Wow, this is exciting. We have more people coming on. Jaspal, would you like to add anything about this book study?
Well, I have actually, I read the introduction, and I think what you have said is really what Rajkumari he has said, and also as we'll be hearing from everyone, it's a study of your own pluses and minuses, seeing myself. I think I like the question. What makes me get upset or irritated or unlike someone, because that's a reflection of myself. That was something that caught my eye, and I like to focus on that part. I think seeing something that the weaknesses, I say, and look at the strengths, as we talked about that. So I think there is. We'll see how it unfolds. But if you give me one minute, I'd like to welcome all of you who have joined on behalf of the Chananda Cultural Society. Taking time to be part of this wonderful session that we have another about 50 minutes or so left. So Azilia ji, welcome. Rajkumari ji, welcome. JP Saab, welcome. Mohini ji, welcome. Belinda ji, welcome. Shirin ji, welcome. Shamaine, Kapsi ji, welcome. Deepali ji, welcome. Michelle ji, welcome. Lavina ji, welcome. Carol ji, welcome. Anil and Dilraj ji, welcome. Rita ji, Lamba ji, welcome. And Elizabeth ji, welcome. And all of you, as we move on, I will be making a note of. So thank you, all of you who have taken time to be part of this wonderful session. So all yours, Lois. Please.
Okay. Thank you very much. So since we have, 18 or maybe more people even will be coming on, another very helpful detail for housekeeping is to please feel free to use the chat. And I want to explain for everybody how to raise your hand. You probably know, I think you're all aware of how to use Zoom, but if you hover your mouse at the bottom of your screen, you will see a little picture of a happy smiley face with a plus sign that says reactions. So when you want to say something, you click on that, and then you'll see a bar at the bottom of the emojis, and the bar says raise hand. And when you click on that, that will put your little hand in your picture, and it will move you to the top of my screen so I can see that you have your hand raised. And maybe Jasbal and Jay can also help me. Sometimes I miss them if I'm in share screen. But also for those of you who have come on, if it's at all possible, we would really appreciate your turning your cameras on so that we can see you and feel that we are all part of one group talking about this book. Okay, so let's just review the idea of the Odyssey. What is the Odyssey? I mean, just does anybody can give us a little summary of who wrote the Odyssey and what it's about? Hi, Belinda, nice to see you. Anyone who's read the introduction, is the Odyssey something that, yes, go ahead, Belinda. You have to unmute. Okay. We won't be able to hear you. And remember, when you're ready to talk, to take yourself off mute. Okay, it's not working for her. So what can we say about the Odyssey? What is the Odyssey? Shirin, what is the Odyssey?
Odyssey is otherwise a long tail, a story, right?
Yes, it's a long tale, a story.
Yeah.
And is it a new story or a very old story? It's very old, very old.
Yeah.
I see. Jay, could you please check and make sure that everybody is able to unmute? Because there could be, maybe it's not allowing people to. Some people are saying they're unable to unmute. Take a quick look here. So this is an epic tale. Of course, it's from ancient Greece. It was written around the 8th century BCE. And hi, Renee, good to see you. And let's see, I haven't said hi to everyone. Charmaine, Lavina. So this story was written by the classic Greek author Homer. Okay, so Jay, just please double check that everybody is able to unmute themselves if they want to speak.
If somebody
And
wants
how
to speak, I will unmute them by myself, or they can raise the hand. Or if you ask them to talk or speak, so I'll unmute them. Because if I have not put the security right now that way.
Okay. Okay. So if I call on someone, then Jay will have to unmute you. So the classic Odyssey was written in, what did I say? The 8th century BCE. That's a long time ago. And the famous Greek author Homer wrote the two classics, the Iliad and the Odyssey. Now, that's quite amazing that the Odyssey is about this hero named Odysseus. And Odysseus goes off to fight a war in Troy. He doesn't want to go, but Greece is in a battle with Troy. Their princess has been stolen, and this battle has been raging and going on for many years. And the people of Greece believe that only Odysseus, as their leader, can go into war and win this battle because they see him as a strong personality. So if you look in our world today and at ourselves, we recognize that sometimes we need a strong personality in order to make a thrust to go home. And what is home? Where are we trying to get to? What is our spiritual home? What is our goal? So, what is our goal? Let's hear from some of you. I'd like to see, I know it's hard for people to raise their hand sometimes, but Renee, what is our goal? Where are we trying to end up? Jay will, there you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Lois.
Hi.
I'm not so ready, but I will try because I've just stepped out of a meeting and I'm sitting in this crazy place, not at home, it's not quiet, and it's difficult to focus. Okay. Of course, our goal is to align within and align with the universe and to, love.
Exactly. Excellent. And that's what some people have put into the chat, to ascend to your higher self, Azealia says. Belinda, to get back to our true source. And of course, this book is from Greek mythology. Thank you for adding that also, Belinda. And Azealia, to go back to love. Yes, so that is our goal. And we have to be a strong character in order to be able to do that. We have to be able to know what to discard. And we even see that in our world. We see in our world of politics and leaders, we see people who are having a certain strength of their personality, but we're also able to see the weaknesses sometimes. So Odysseus, even though he's a mythological figure, and the whole story that Homer wrote is from Greek mythology, full of gods and goddesses and monsters and helpers and not helpers and giants and all kinds of things. These are all symbols or the parts of mythology that can help us get to our goal, that can help us see, wow, I really need to get rid of that. So the story is about Odysseus. He goes to fight the war. He doesn't want to go. He has a beautiful wife, Penelope. He just had a baby son, and still the people are clamoring him to go and to find a way to save their princess and to win the war against Troy. So Odysseus, with great reluctance, he sets out with a thrust in his sails, and that is this epic story. You are Odysseus, and even though he's not a big, strong Hulk, he is still someone who is the best among them that gives the gods, and we could even say now the ascended masters, who gives the gods and goddesses something to work with because they need our strength so that they can help us to achieve more of our godly nature. So let's just take a look at a passage of the book. This is from the introduction, The Stuff That Heroes Are Made Of. And I might have to have Jay unmute you, but I'm going to put up that section of the book as soon as I can get to it.
Like to welcome Gracie and Sukhvinderji. In the meantime, we have a little break. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Okay. Let me just switch my view here. So what are heroes made of? How do we get to our goal? I'm having a little trouble with this screen. Okay, so let me ask Jaspal if you could start. What is the first thing that heroes are made of? Number one, could you read that, please?
The stuff heroes are made of.
Yes, and go ahead and read the first paragraph and point number one.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to read from a book because I see a black spot, a square on the screen. So I'll read
I
from my
see.
book.
Yes, I'll take care of that.
Yeah, if you can. Okay, thank you. Now I can see the whole thing. Thank you. Homer's Odyssey recounts the homeward journey of Odysseus following the fall of Troy. Singleness of purpose again drives Odysseus. He must reach Ithaca and restore order to his family, home, and kingdom. What begins as a short voyage home from Troy turns into a heroic 10-year adventure that Odysseus survives only by drawing forth tremendous inner resources. After much hardship and many tests of character, some passed and others failed, Odysseus reaches home a changed man. The once shrewd, rash, and arrogant king has made a wiser and more humble man. The stuff heroes are made of. Odysseus is not the biggest and brawniest of the Greek heroes. He is, however, the most intelligent, and he is renowned as a master strategist. While Odysseus has his faults, he also has characteristics that are typical of a hero. Number one, Odysseus keeps his eye on his goal.
Thank you very much. So he keeps his eye on the goal. Jay, can you please unmute Belinda? Belinda, can you please read number two?
He is not afraid to make a mistake.
Thank you. He's not afraid to make a mistake. Okay. Jay, can you please unmute JP? JP, can you read number three?
He is courageous, acceptance, and faces his trials.
Excellent. He courageously accepts and faces his trials. And that's what we all have, isn't it? We get our trials. Now notice that there are 12 things that we're going to read here. So you can think of that like the clock, like a clock, starting with 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, etc., all the way around the clock. So now we're at number 4. And I'm going to ask Poonam if you will please read number 4 when Jay unmutes you.
When he makes a mistake, he bounces back.
Okay, we don't get down just because we've made a mistake. And now let's look at number 5. Could I please ask Mohani to read? Well, I see you're on your phone. That might be hard for you. So let me go on and try it. Lavina, can you please read number 5?
He learns from his mistakes.
Okay, thank you. And do we learn from our mistakes? We hope so. Let's go to number 6, and we'll try Raj Kumari. Please read number 6.
Yeah, he's not afraid of pain.
He's not afraid of pain. Pain can be quite a teacher, and we have to learn not to be afraid of it. Number 7, let's have Rita Lamba read number 7, please. She may be away from her computer. So let's go to Charmaine. Can you please unmute Charmaine to read number 7?
He endures.
He endures. So he carries on no matter what. All right. And now we'll go to number 8. Let's have Michelle. Can you please read number 8?
He is open to discovering more about his inner self.
I think everybody here in this meeting is open to discover more about inner self. Thank you very much. And for number 9, Grace, can you please read number 9?
He does not dwell on the past.
Okay, that's very important. Does not dwell on the past. He keeps going forward. All right, number 10, we get to another they're all very important. Number 10, Azealia, could you please read number 10?
He respects the gods.
Thank you. Number 11, Jay, would you please read number 11?
He is obedient to their direction.
Okay, so he listens and he's obedient. And finally, 12, I will read, he has a mentor who intercedes for him. So that would be an ascended master who is sponsoring us, who helps us out when our karma allows and when we are able. So now we're going to move to the first chapter. That was all from the introduction. The first chapter has to do with power. And we start at 12 o'clock with a new project. We start at the very top of the clock. We receive God's power so that we can go forward in life. And we're taking with us all these different aspects of ourselves. Odysseus has a crew on his ship. So those crew members represent all the different aspects of ourselves. Sometimes those aspects of ourselves are a little naughty. Sometimes they are very helpful. Sometimes they are listening carefully to God. And sometimes those aspects of ourselves are selfish or tired or irritated, or whatever it might be. And we have to bring them under control. We have to be a good parent to all the different elements within our personalities. We have to be the good parent that gives them discipline, that loves every aspect of ourselves, but helps correct those aspects and helps us to conquer, just like Odysseus. So we start out with the power of God, and we're really ready to take on a project, to do what we have to do, to fight the war. But sometimes we misuse that power. What are some ways that we might misuse power? Now you're going to have to raise your hand so that I can call on you and Jay can unmute you. What are some ways that people might misuse power? Maybe yourself or people that you see. Gitanjali, what are some ways?
Many times we use a power to manipulate because we know the things. So many times in situations, we try to manipulate the other and using their weakness and use it for our own advantage.
What an excellent observation. Yes, I think that is really a big element of misusing of power, manipulating others, holding things to ourselves. Raj Kumari.
Yeah, it's we abuse power when we don't listen to people who we think are below us. We just it's like ruling the roost, like my way is the right way, and this is what you have to listen to.
Very good. We don't listen to people who are underneath us. And this is also a very important point of pride, where we think, oh, well, that person is not as important as this other person, so I don't have to listen so much to what they say. Yes, that's definitely a misuse of power. What else can you think of that might be? Here's some in the, let me look at the chat here too. Let me just get this open. By putting someone down, Deepali says, by putting someone down for one's self-interest. Good point. Yes, very good. Did anyone notice how Odysseus misused some of his power in the beginning? If you read this part of the book, and I'll review a little bit of chapter 1 so we get the idea. Okay. So he sets off for war and he has an idea. They don't know how their little army can conquer the army of Troy. So Odysseus comes up with a plan, and his crew builds a horse out of wood or whatever they built it out of. But in this movie, we're going to watch a little clip of a movie. He builds a horse out of wood. Has everyone heard of the Trojan horse? Okay, that's right. So this is the Trojan horse. So Odysseus has this idea to build the Trojan horse. And the idea is that he will send an ambassador. So you'll see in the movie a person who comes before the king of Troy and says, look, this is a gift from the Greeks. They come with this. They say that you are the leader, you are the winner, and here is their offering of surrender. And here's this beautiful, magnificent horse that they have built. Take it. But then along comes this black magician that you'll see in the movie. And the black magician says, don't listen to that. Can't you see that's a trick? And at that moment, the gods help Odysseus because a monster comes and takes away the black magician. So that's kind of gruesome, but you'll see that in the movie. And that's where the monsters help. But Odysseus doesn't really think about it, I guess, because they're all hiding inside that horse. Odysseus and his men are hiding inside that horse. So the king decides, okay, it's for real. And he takes the horse into the city. Well, once again, now Odysseus and his men are hiding in the horse and they're inside the city. And once again, the gods and goddesses help him out a little bit. And the people of Troy are drinking and carousing, and they all go to sleep, deeply to sleep. And then Odysseus and his men are able to come out of the horse, kill all the soldiers, take everything, take all the money, even go a little bit too far, and win the war. But then in the end, you'll see, what does Odysseus think? What does he do? Who does he give credit to? So now you'll have to bear with me again for a few moments while I put this movie up and get it cued to just the right place. So as I'm doing this, please give some thought to, how did Odysseus use power and how did he abuse power? But also, how do we use power and how do we abuse power? So I'll work on that now.
While we are waiting, I'd like to welcome Gitanjali ji. I know I heard your comment, but I'd like to welcome you officially. Nice to have you on board.
So now they are all mourning because of the loss of Achilles, one of their great soldiers. But then you'll see after that the horse coming and the scene that I just described. So we'll have that now. And so Odysseus won the battle. He had the power, but what were some of the mistakes that he made? Rajkumari.
Yeah, the mayhem that they caused after they entered, after they won over, was not required. They
Very
could have
good.
just taken the princess and then gone back. But I also think, Lois, the princess, what I understood after reading that chapter, first chapter, was that she went on her own.
I think the whole battle was not was that she was kidnapped.
Okay. No,
But
somewhere it is mentioned that she went on her own.
I missed that. I'll have to
I
look at
think
that
it is
again.
there. But then
But
when
regardless, what you said, that they went to excess in
Yeah,
there. Yes.
and then he became very arrogant also. He was saying, I have done that. I'm this and that.
Yes. He became very arrogant. You see that in the movie, don't you? I did it.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Deepali, what did you notice?
Noise, it's so exciting to see this again and again, but it so beautifully shows how one person is, when they are really fighting a battle, they are more strategic, they try to be intelligent, they look at the nature to gods, but the moment they win the battle, their entire perspective changes. And then they suddenly start becoming the doers and they feel, I have done it. So that change happens. And the way the ocean was communicating with him, that was so powerful.
Yes, I love that. And Poseidon, the god of the sea, says, you have offended the gods. But
We get the messages from gods, but we don't listen to them. We always get messages, but we
Yes.
don't really give any heed to that.
Yes.
That's something that is coming to me.
That is very true. Thank you for bringing that up. I wonder why that is, that we don't realize that God is the one who's doing everything good. God is the one who's planning it, helping us, doing it, and the gods and goddesses. And yet, I guess because we have these physical bodies and we have our free will and we have our minds, we forget that we are really bonded to God, and it's really God doing everything. This is something I think it's a big test as we continue on the path, and the farther we go, the more subtle the test may be. So Deepali says he became more proud and started thinking of himself as the most powerful. Right. So what did other people notice? And what do we find in our own lives? Raj Kumari says we quickly turn to God when in trouble, but forget him after the problem is over. Thank you. Very true. Gitanjali.
I I think I've done this in my own life. At one point, I actually challenged God and said, like, what you gave me didn't kill me. So show me more ways. And I think he gave me an experience in my next part of my life, which was no short of death, but didn't kill me. So I had to force myself to not to ask for the doom and drought. I learned not to challenge God in the other way, because maybe the earlier experience was also about humbling my ego and surrendering and aligning with what he wanted me to do, rather than me, like, I will show you how to live life. So that was my learning in my own life. And I now like to be more aligned to what God wants me to do rather than the other way around.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I believe all of this that we see in Odysseus, we can see in ourselves. And even though we may not be, killing everybody and taking their riches, we have other ways that we are forgetting about God and allowing that power to really be part of us. Azealia.
So I had a few observations because I didn't agree with a lot of things. So one is, yes, that his pride took over him at the end. But the two things that I didn't agree with or understand is, one is when we are in battle with the enemy, okay, outside us, whatever, do we need to use treachery to overcome the enemy? That was one. Okay, do we need to use a trick to overcome the enemy? So I was a little bit not comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
Second part was when Poseidon talks to Odysseus, right? I didn't agree with him being the god, because my experience of God has been all loving, and not a God who would speak like that. Yes, our lessons on pride, very important, but my experience of God has been the God of Moses, has been the God of love, has been the God of, showing us the path back home. So these are the two things which didn't settle with me. I mean, I couldn't understand why. I know it's the hero's journey. I've read so much of the hero's journey and the hero's journey, but, and it's a metaphor of bringing us back home. But still, I didn't understand treachery required to overcome the enemy. So yeah, that's my.
Yes. And those are excellent, really wonderful points and observations. So I think that Homer was writing in a way that could be understood as, without necessarily using our language, in a way that could be understood by the people of his time. And yet he's also using symbols to help us see that we can apply certain things to ourselves. The great avatars like Krishna and Jesus, they both were in battles. So, Krishna is there with Arjuna and he's saying, yes, you have to fight your brother and your sister. He wasn't necessarily saying you have to use a trick, you have to use treachery, but he was definitely saying that, you have to enter into the battle. And I think that's what the case is here too. And, you could say that strategy or that little trick was a lesson for both sides. We still use that phrase, beware gifts of the Greeks, right? When we are saying, you have to be alert. You can't just be naive. You can't think that just because this person comes with a gift that now they are your friend. So you could say that Homer was using that very strategy to point out how we can trust no man. We can only trust the one true God. And that's what we have to get home to. So Jesus said that we must be wise as serpents and gentle as doves. Oh, what does that mean? Well, the serpents, those are the people who are manipulating things, who are collecting interest on the money, who know how to live in the world and its worldly ways. And Jesus told his disciples, you have to be as wise as serpents. So you have to know how to live in the world, how to conquer the world, and yet you have to be as gentle as doves. So you can't be naive. You have to go into battle, but you still have to be gentle in your inner core. You have to know who that one true God really is, and you have to connect to that one true God. And I agree with you. It's in the Greek mythology and the Roman mythology, they're just like really in our theology today, there are so many gods and goddesses, and this one controls that, and this one controls this. And yet it is the one true God, the Atman within ourselves that we really have to attune to. And the masters and the gods and goddesses are there because they have also attuned to the one true God, and they know how to reach out and help us. But what we see in this mythology, it almost becomes a little superstitious, and every religion can become a little superstitious if we forget to tune in to the one true God who lives in our hearts, in that Trinity. So it's very, very mystical, and yet they give us, having someone like Poseidon to help us. It's like a little knock on the head to say, are you crazy? You forgot that God is there helping you and sending his emissaries to help you. Anyway, that's a little bit how I look at. What do you feel about it, Azealia, as I've been speaking?
No, I totally understand, because as I said, I've read a lot of hero's journey and heroine's journey. But
Yes.
once again, I felt as Odysseus, as we go on this journey, right? We're talking about our soul's journey. I don't think we need to use treachery with anyone.
Yes.
This is of
Yes.
course, okay, yes, we need to be aware of the enemy at all times. Be as sharp as a serpent, as gentle as the dove. So this is my
Yes.
yeah. And secondly, with the Poseidon coming and talking about the pride, yes, that was required for the common man and for everyone to understand, that it was not you, it was all that helped you, all of the divine that came to help you.
Beautiful. Well said. Thank you so much. I think that's very, very true. And as we climb on the path, we do not need to use treachery. We use love, and we use the power of invoking God into every situation. So that was very helpful. Thank you. How about Belinda?
Yeah, so I just have a point of view, not that I'm in any way trying to say that, where the place he came from and what he did was right. But I think sometimes as humans, we all have this need for feeling significant. And it also comes from a space of probably not experiencing who we truly are. So when we don't know our power within, then for us, like I'll talk about me, I think there have been times, and in fact that it's not a coincidence that, I'm currently just today, there's a revelation that had come to me when I was doing a session, is that I don't want to be successful because I have this belief that success will go to my head and I may misuse my power. And that comes from a space of, being so not in love with myself, being going through patterns where I did not realize my worth. So when I don't realize my worth from within, then I need that significance from outside, and I need to declare, oh, I am powerful, because maybe somewhere within I'm actually feeling very small about myself. So that's where I could just relate to what he was sharing, is that because like he said, that so many years the war was on, there was so much of struggle. I'm sure he must have been through self-doubt, and finally he feels, oh, he needs to let himself know, I'm not as bad as I thought I am. I can do it, and I did it. That's the space that he probably came from, when he wanted to feel that, okay, I'm not bad. Though everyone believed in me, I had self-doubt because the war took so many years. Like my internal struggle, it has been there. And then you want to tell yourself, no, I did it. I did it in the sense that I'm not weak. I have the power.
Yes.
Of course, it comes from not acknowledging the power you have from within, which is the power of God as well. But that's what I could relate to in that conversation. So yeah.
That's very, very astute. And I thank you for sharing that also. So perhaps sometimes we become a little prideful or boastful because there's a hole in ourselves that we need to fill. And so we do it that way. So we're learning. And Mrs. Prophet said that God needs us to have an ego, a strong ego, because that gives her something to work with. And if we are just like a blob, that's nothing that we can shape. So sometimes we have to have that strong ego in order to really come to God with an offering. And the offering is all of our pride. We surrender that, we give it up, and we offer God all the things that God has been able to accomplish through us. But it's all part of evolution and part of the path. Wow, all of these discussions are very rich and very deep. I really appreciate it. Sharon. Thank you.
So there's another observation that I had. That was even the king of Troy, even though he's done this, in the story, he's the villain who's done this bad thing of kidnapping Helen. So even he has been helped in some way, as in the soothsayer comes at that point when he's going to accept that horse, to tell him that, don't believe that guy, he's telling you lies, don't take the horse. We always have these signs and symbols, irrespective of however we are, good, bad, the negatives that we have. Even in spite of that, I think God always helps us, but it is for us to recognize it. Maybe it's an Odyssey, so we have that thing of where the monster comes and takes the soothsayer away. Maybe if the king of Troy was in touch with himself, his own body, and thought of it and seen, was the soothsayer true or no, maybe he could have averted that entire thing and not accepted that gift.
Yes.
He could have done that.
That's it.
So God is helping each one of them. He's sending us signs or symbols, which we, in our pride, don't look at it, don't recognize it, is my observation in this.
Excellent. That's it. And we're all striving to be more attuned. So we ask God the questions and we hear the answers, so that we can just take little steps to get us in the right direction. Very well said. And before I go to Renee, I just want to say we also have Raj Kumari, who added on, we quickly turn to God when in trouble, but forget him after the problem is over. Also, the larger goal is saving the princess. So one has to strategize. Okay. My view is God is like a parent, and a parent has to be strict sometimes and punish our kids as well. Thank you. And let's have one more from Renee, because we're getting close to the end of our time, and I want to point out one other part from our book. So we'll have Renee next, and Raj Kumari, you can conclude then too. Okay, Renee.
Thank you, Lois, for giving me a little bit of time. Actually, I just want to say, now that I'm very grounded, and I was with the, whatever you were speaking, what my take from here is, I love that example about the serpent and the dove. Because I feel in today's world, what we really need is to create that balance. And that's what's going to really align us with the universe, with the God force. And that's today's lesson for the people of today, that maybe I've been very naive. I've played the dove all my life. So for me, now that I have the awareness, I've had it for a while now, I feel that this is a lesson everybody should take from here. That, just be smart, like astute, like the serpent, and yet have the gentleness within your heart to feel the love and to feel, all the beautiful emotions. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much, Lois.
Excellent. Yes, thank you. I agree with you. And Raj Kumari.
Lois, just one thought came to me, so I thought I'll share with you. It came just now. I feel Homer was perhaps a very advanced spiritual soul. And in this story, he's talking about like Odysseus in this story is a human being, and Princess in the story is the soul whom Odysseus is trying to save. I don't know. I got the thought. Maybe it's not at all. Pardon me?
I love that. I never thought of it that way, but that makes
it just came to me.
Yes.
So
That
all the monsters and all, he's just trying to. Maybe he knew everything. He knew all, and there was no way he could present that story to common people. So he made an elaborate story about it. But in the end, he wanted to convey that a human being has to save the soul.
I believe you're right. Very nice observation. Thank you for that. So before we close, because we're at the end of our time, I just want to see if I can show you the last part of the chapter to make sure that you have a chance to take a look at it. So let's see if I can get to that. Okay. So I'll just keep advancing here until we get to the close. You've probably observed this already, but until we have our next time together, this is chapter 1 that we've just been talking about. So at the end of chapter 1, you see, and it's small on your screen, but if you can take a look at this over the next weeks, maybe you've done this already, you will see the tests that we all receive on power. And we can look at what are the strengths of power, what are the weaknesses, and that will help us understand that aspect of ourselves, how we engage with power. So you see, I won't read all these, but healthy ambition is a strength, or leadership capacity, hardworking, self-discipline. Those are all strengths of power. But some of the weaknesses are blind ambition, or a sense of limitation, of restriction, overly hesitant, where we don't use our power, we misuse it, or if we're really pessimistic or depressed. And then also at the end of this chapter is the reflection section. Who am I? The 12 o'clock line of power, to take a moment to think about your life and reflect on your strengths and weaknesses. And then you have questions to answer here. What are my greatest strengths in relation to power? What are my greatest weaknesses in relation to power? And that's very helpful to do that self-reflection. And then we finally have winning strategies, how to really overcome our misuses of power. And this is not too long, so you can be sure to take a look at that. And finally, where am I going? Have I made a conscious choice to embark on a victorious odyssey to become whole and balanced and one with my higher self? So there's some good questions here at the end of chapter 1. Every chapter has that series so you can take a look at it. So for our next time together, let's go on with chapter 2, which is the 1 o'clock line, a chance to champion love. So read that chapter and we will go on with some of the questions at the back of that chapter. Raj Kumari, did you have something else you were wanting to say there? Or because your hand is still up? No, okay. So Jaspal, I'll let you please have our conclusion. And I thank you all for being here today. And may you have every victory on the line of God power. And you'll have to unmute, Jaspal.
It was very profound teaching, hearing from everyone. And I think I like the part of what Raj Kumari said about the soul. But I was thinking about the fragment of the soul, because we also have something like a Sunday Master taught us about the retrieving the fragments of the soul. So when a fragment of the soul is, stolen or given or taken by someone, we have to get it back also, because our soul is incomplete. So I think that was very nice. I did not think like that also until you mentioned that, Raj Kumari. So thank you very much. Before I close it, we have a Yasmin ji, welcome. Satija ji, welcome. And Manish ji, welcome. If you have missed the earlier part of the presentation, it's on the YouTube. It's also on the Facebook. So you have not missed anything. Please go and you can listen to it. And I think we have the part 2. Part 3, I think Lois will announce that in month of April. We have the next chapter. I think I want to talk about that. Maybe would like to talk about that now, Lois, or after I do the prayer.
Well, we haven't set a date yet, so we'll have to do that and send it out to everybody. But I look forward to having you all. And I did mention that we'll go on to chapter 2. I actually think that because the chapter 2 is not a real long chapter, I think we should try to read chapter 2 and chapter 3. You can read the whole book actually in that amount of time, but then come back and relook at chapter 2 and chapter 3.
Thank you. So we'll let you know the date. I think that's what Lois is saying. So in the month of April, but chapter 2 and chapter 3 are the two our assignments to be discussing that in the month of April. So I'd like to seal it on behalf of everyone. A short invocation. In the name of the I am that I am, in the name of the Holy Spirit, in the name of the Lord Mahachohan, who was a Homer, who wrote that book with so much teaching for our soul, for how to overcome, have the victories. We ask you, beloved Lord Mahachohan, as we sleep this night, we ask you, beloved Archangel Michael, to take us to Mahachohan's retreat or in Sri Lanka, in Ceylon, where we may be tutored by all the other questions, all the retrieving our fragments of our soul and anything else that we know our strength and how to use those strengths to overcome our weaknesses. So we may be victorious coming home in our heart chakra. Thank you, beloved Archangel Michael. We thank you, beloved, all the masters who are with us to give us this teaching. In the holy name of God, I am that I am. We thank you again from the bottom of our hearts. We thank you, all of you who are together with us here in this meeting. God bless you all. Have a nice evening, and thank you, Lois, for being with us early in the morning and also Jay, thank for being with us early in the morning from place where you are. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
See you.
everyone.
Thank you, Lois.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you so much.
We are thankful to you for your prayers.
Thank you.